When love dies, it doesn't always stay buried. Especially when your ex still remembers how you take your coffee. And your heart. I just wanted caffeine. That's it. No drama, no memories, just a caramel latte and maybe a muffin if I was feeling wild. The place was new. Cozy lighting, low jazz. That kind of we grind our beans with love vibe. It smelled like cinnamon and calm mornings. I was halfway through placing my order when I looked up and froze. Because behind the counter, wiping down the espresso machine, smiling like he hadn't been buried 6 feet under my heartbreak, was Enzo. My Enzo. Same wavy black hair, same stupidly unfair jawline, same warm hazel eyes that used to ruin me on a daily basis. For a second, I honestly thought I was hallucinating. Maybe caffeine withdrawal came with ghost sightings now. Then he looked up, met my eyes, and said, "Still like it extra sweet?" My brain short-circuited. My hands forgot how to function. The latte I'd been holding went straight to the floor in a caramel explosion. And before I could do something even more humiliating, like cry or demand resurrection paperwork, I turned around and walked out. Fast. Heart pounding, lungs forgetting how to breathe. Because my ex, the one who died, was apparently very much alive and serving coffee. For hours after that, I couldn't get the sound of his voice out of my head. That stupid, low, honey-wrapped tone that used to talk me into everything. From midnight drives to skipping class just to see where the day takes us. I barely made it back to my apartment before I collapsed. Hands shaking so hard I dropped my keys twice. I checked my phone for messages, as if the universe might text me. "Gotcha, just a nervous breakdown." It didn't. I called Dylan. "You remember Enzo's funeral, right? Chase, are you okay?" What if... I swallowed, throat dry. What if it wasn't him? Chase. His voice was gentle. "You saw the body. You don't have to do this to yourself." But I did. I spent all night Googling grief hallucinations. Do ghosts exist? And signs you might be losing your mind. The next morning, I had a headache, 3 half-eaten muffins, and exactly 0 peace. Flashback. We met 3 years ago at a street fair downtown. I was the idiot trying to win a stuffed bear at a rigged ring toss, and he was the stranger laughing behind me. I remember that laugh. Warm and bright, like he had the sun on speed dial. He took the ring from my hand, tossed it once, and somehow landed it perfectly. Then he handed me the bear with a grin. "For confidence," he'd said. "You look like you could use some." That's how it started. A dare, a smile, a spark. After that, we were inseparable. Coffee runs turned into movie nights. Movie nights into half-slept mornings tangled under the same blanket. Enzo was chaos wrapped in charm. The kind of person who made even silence feel like music. He'd hum when he cooked. Always barefoot. Always humming. He'd steal my hoodies and roll his eyes when I complained. He'd kiss me just to shut me up, and it always worked. I loved him in all the small, unremarkable ways you love someone when you think you have time. Grocery lists. Shared playlists. A toothbrush left next to yours. Until the night we didn't. It was raining. He'd gone out to grab dessert. Some ridiculous red velvet cupcakes I'd been craving. I told him to drive safely. He'd laughed. "I'm not going to die getting you sugar, Chase." Except he did. The call came at 11:47 p.m. Car crash. No survivors. When they called me to the morgue, I could barely stand. The body they showed me was burned, unrecognizable except for the heavy watch I'd given him and the chain he never took off. I told myself it was him because I couldn't imagine any other answer. We held a funeral, closed casket. Friends left flowers. I told stories about the boy I'd loved like he was truly gone. I kept waiting to wake up, but I never did. I remember the silence that followed more than the sound. The world just folded in. Days bled together. His clothes still hung in the closet. The smell of his cologne lingered in the air like a ghost too stubborn to leave. For weeks, I'd wake up reaching for him, and then remember. For months, I couldn't drive past that intersection. For a year, I couldn't say his name without it tasting like blood. Eventually, though, the ache dulled. Not gone, just quieter. Manageable. Like learning to live with a scar that still twinges when it rains. I started pretending I was okay. Got a new apartment. New job. Told myself grief wasn't forever. And maybe it wasn't. Until today, when I walked into that cafe and saw the ghost of every lie I'd finally learned to live without. Flashback ends. The thing about seeing your dead ex making lattes is nobody believes you. Maybe he just looks like Enzo, my friend Dylan said, sipping his iced Americano like it was wisdom. Tall, dark, and tragic is kind of a type chase. Yeah, well, my type also has the exact same voice, the same smirk, and the same stupid habit of saying my name like it's a secret, I snapped. It was him. They all gave me that look. The one people reserve for freshly dumped folks and conspiracy theorists. So I did what any reasonable, mentally stable adult would do. I went back. It took me 2 hours to work up the nerve. 2 hours of pacing outside Eclipse Cafe, pretending I was just passing by. Like the universe would buy that. When I finally pushed open the door, the bell jingled, soft and familiar. Enzo was there again, behind the counter. He glanced up, eyes flicking to mine, and I swear there was a flicker of amusement, like he'd been waiting. Back so soon? I should have said something clever, or angry, or anything. But what am I supposed to say? Hey, you look like my dead boyfriend. Are you bringing him back from the dead by any chance? Nope. Couldn't have said that. So instead I just stood there, heart in my throat, while the world tilted slightly off center. For a full minute, I didn't even move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Then I told myself I was imagining things. That grief was playing a cruel trick. That maybe I'd just seen someone who looked like Enzo. Same hair. Same smirk. Same way of leaning against the counter like the world existed just to amuse him. Denial's a hell of a drug. Every visit after that, I told myself it was just to confirm it. Just to make sure I wasn't crazy. But each time I stayed a little longer. Maybe I didn't want to lose him again. So I stayed quiet. Afraid that if I went poking around too much, he'd disappear. He'd talk to me. Casual. Careful. Ask about work. Tease me about my caffeine addiction. Offer to make me something new, like we hadn't already done that 1,000 times when we were us. And sometimes, when the shop got quiet, I'd catch him staring. Not in a creepy way. In that familiar, focused way he used to when he was sketching me on the couch. Like he was trying to memorize the shape of me before I vanished. And every now and then, when the light hit just right, I'd notice the things that didn't fit. How he never came near the front window. How he always wore gloves, even when the air outside felt like summer. How his reflection in the chrome espresso machine wasn't gone. Just faint, like he was half here, half not. I tried to reason it away. New medication, sleep deprivation, overactive imagination. But reason only gets you so far when the impossible keeps looking you in the eye and smiling like it remembers how you taste. Piece by piece, the truth built itself in the spaces between what I could explain. Maybe death had taken him. But something darker, something stubborn, had brought him back. And somehow, deep down, I knew. I wasn't done with him yet. A few weeks later. It was one of those nights where the rain sounded like static, soft, endless, filling up every quiet space. The cafe was empty, lights dimmed, the air smelling like espresso and wet pavement. I'd stayed late to help close. Don't ask me why. Maybe I liked pretending things were normal. Just two co-workers wiping tables, not two people with a shared funeral in their past. Enzo was behind the counter, sleeves rolled up, forearms flexing as he cleaned the espresso machine. Every motion too precise, too graceful, like he'd had centuries to practice. And me? I was trying very hard not to notice. Then the storm hit harder. A flash of lightning, a sharp crack, and the lights blinked out. Total darkness. Great, I muttered. Love when my trauma gets ambient lighting. Enzo chuckled somewhere in the dark. Low. Warm. Relax, Chase. I'll find the fuse box. I could hear him moving, silent and quick. I reached for a rag, fumbled with a glass, and slice. Shit. The cut wasn't deep, just enough for blood to bead across my skin. But then I felt it. A shift in the air. The sound of Enzo stopping mid-step. The way the room seemed to shrink around us. Chase, he said, voice low, tight. Yeah? A pause, then sharper. Get out! It wasn't angry, it was scared, and that scared me more than anything. I didn't move. Enzo? That's when I saw him. Or rather, his eyes. Red. Not hazel, not brown, not even gold, but red, glowing faintly in the dark, fixed on my hand. His breathing hitched, rough, uneven. He took a step closer, then stopped himself like every inch was a war. Please, he whispered, go. But I couldn't. I should have been terrified, but instead I felt something else. That same impossible pull, like gravity remembering what it owed us. Enzo, I said quietly. You're shaking. He flinched, closing the space between us in one blurred heartbeat. The air hummed. Electricity, tension, hunger, heartbreak. His hand caught my wrist, gentle but trembling. His face hovered inches from mine, fangs glinting in the half-light from the window. For a moment, I swore I felt his breath on my skin. Cool, fast, desperate. Then he jerked back, like I'd burned him. The lights flickered on. His chest rose and fell, eyes fading back to hazel. Silence. He wouldn't meet my gaze when he said, "Now you know." And I did. Oh, I did. 2 days later. We didn't speak for 2 days after that night. I told myself I wouldn't go back. That I'd seen enough. The eyes, the fangs, the please, get out. It should have been enough. But it wasn't. Because I kept seeing him in my head. The way he looked at me like he was starving and heartbroken at the same time. And because I'm apparently terrible at self-preservation, I found myself standing outside Eclipse Cafe again. The sign flickered. Inside, he was alone. When he saw me, his whole body went still. Then he sighed, like he'd been expecting this. You shouldn't be here, Chase. Yeah, I'm starting to get that vibe, I said, stepping inside anyway. The bell over the door gave a faint, almost judgmental jingle. We stood there, a few feet apart. The air between us felt heavier than the storm outside. Finally, I said it. The thing that had been clawing at me since the lights came back that night. You really are Enzo, aren't you? He stayed quiet. When he didn't reply for long, I pressed further. What happened to you, Enzo? He stared at me for a long time before answering. His voice was soft, but it hit like a confession in a church. I didn't fake my death. Then, someone attacked me that night. He looked past me, out the window, like he could still see it happening. I was meeting someone. A client, I thought. But it wasn't. It was him. A vampire. A what? The one who turned me, Enzo said finally, voice low, rough like it scraped against something sharp. He said he wanted something I had. And when I wouldn't give it to him, he stopped. His jaw tightened. I could see the muscle in his cheek twitch. But what about the body? My voice trembled. They found someone in that car. I saw your things. There was a funeral, Enzo. How did you just disappear? Enzo looked stricken, then guilty. When he turned me, my sire staged it. He made sure another body was found in my place. Someone from another accident, maybe. He wanted you to believe I was really gone, so you wouldn't look for me. I'm sorry. The sickest part is, I did believe. Grief is easy. Uncertainty is hell. I waited for him to continue, heart in my throat. He wasn't after money or power, Enzo went on quietly. He wanted my bloodline, my family. We've always had something rare. It's old, buried, a trace of magic, diluted, dormant. It only shows up once in a generation, and somehow I got lucky. It's not just blood, Enzo said, voice low. A century ago, one of my great-grandmothers made some deal. Maybe with an angel, maybe with a demon, no one remembers. It gave our family this gift. My dad called it a spark. Some of us heal fast, get glimpses of things before they happen. For vampires, that spark is like gasoline on a fire. It can let them walk in sunlight, resist old magic. So that's what he wanted? Enzo nodded. He thought by drinking my blood or turning me, he'd get the spark for himself. He let out a hollow laugh. He thought turning me would unlock it, make him stronger. I told him it didn't work like that. And? Did it work? Enzo's eyes flicked up to mine, and for a heartbeat, I saw the memory flash there. Fear, pain, defiance. No, not for him. But he figured if he couldn't have it, no one should. So he tried to destroy everything I loved. He said he'd take you. That last word landed like a stone in my chest. Me? My voice cracked on it. He nodded. He watched us for months, followed us, said he liked the way I looked at you, said love makes people careless, said if I didn't give him what he wanted, he'd take what I loved most and make me watch. He looked away, voice shaking now. I tried to fight. I really did. But I never stood a chance. He was older, stronger. I remember the pain, and then nothing. When I woke up 3 days later, I was like this. And the first thing I felt was hunger. The second was you. The room went quiet. The only sound was the wall clock ticking. Steady, relentless, counting all the things we'd lost. I wanted to find you, he whispered. But if I did, I didn't trust myself not to hurt you, so I left. I thought it was the only way to keep you safe. The room tilted. I grabbed the counter just to stay upright. And that's why you disappeared. He nodded once. It was the only way I knew to keep you safe. For a long time, neither of us spoke. I could feel my heartbeat echoing in my throat, too fast, too human. Finally, I whispered, "You think he's coming for me?" Enzo met my eyes, and there it was again. That mix of fear and something deeper. I don't think, Chase. I know. After the confession, I told myself I was done. That I'd gotten my closure. Tragic backstory. Immortal heartbreak. Check and check. But of course, that was a lie. Because the next night, I was back. And the night after that. Enzo didn't question it. He just started keeping the door unlocked for me after hours, like he knew I'd show up. We'd sit around while the rain tapped the windows, pretending everything was fine. He'd make me coffee that somehow always tasted exactly how I remembered. Too sweet. A little bitter, like our history. Some nights we talked, some nights we didn't have to. He'd tease me. Still can't drink it black, huh? And I'd roll my eyes. Still think sarcasm counts as an apology? It felt almost normal again. Except for the quiet moments. When the music was low, and he'd look at me like he was remembering every version of me he'd ever loved. We built this fragile kind of peace between us. A late-night truce built on caffeine and nostalgia. But it was dangerous. How easy it was to fall back into old rhythms. How much I still wanted to reach out and touch him. That night, it almost happened. We were standing by the counter. The cafe dim, except for the soft glow of the string lights over the window. My playlist was humming quietly. Something slow, something sad. He was close enough that I could smell him. That familiar mix of coffee, rain, and something darker underneath. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked. "Leaving?" He smiled, small and tired. "Every night." That did it. The air between us cracked like static. He reached up, brushed a thumb under my jaw, and just like that, the world narrowed to the space between us. His eyes flicked down to my mouth. Mine did the same. We were inches apart, one breath away from undoing everything. Then he froze. It wasn't hesitation. It was fear. His gaze shifted, sharp, to the window behind me. All the warmth in the room evaporated in an instant. "Enzo," I whispered. He moved fast, faster than a human. He stepped in front of me, eyes scanning the dark outside. For a second, I thought I saw it too. A shape in the rain. A flash of movement. Something watching. Then he said it, voice low, steady, and cold enough to make my blood run still. "He found me." The lights flickered. The music cut out. And just like that, whatever almost happened between us shattered. A few days later. After that night, sleep stopped being a thing. Every sound outside my apartment made me flinch. Footsteps, wind, shadows that moved wrong. Enzo went quiet too. He started closing the cafe early, drawing the curtains tighter. The easy jokes disappeared, replaced by that look. The one that said he was planning something I wouldn't like. When I finally cornered him about it, he didn't even bother pretending. "He's close," he said. "I can feel him." The way he said it made my stomach drop. "Then we fight him," I said. "No." He turned away, jaw tight. "You're not part of this, Chase." "The hell I'm not. You shouldn't have been from the start." That hurt more than I wanted to admit. "You're leaving again." "If I stay, he'll find you. If I go, maybe he won't." That was it. The same old ending trying to replay itself. I grabbed his shirt before he could turn away. "You don't get to die on me twice." For a second, neither of us moved. His eyes softened, just a flicker, before he exhaled and said quietly, "Then we end it here." We set the trap that night. The cafe was empty, windows dark, air thick with tension and coffee grounds. Enzo lined the counters with salt, muttered words I didn't understand. I handled the human side of prep, moved the chairs, locked the doors, tried not to shake. When the clock hit midnight, the bell over the door jingled. And there he was, the hunter, Enzo's sire. Tall, pale, with eyes like glass and a smile that didn't reach anywhere real. "You always had a flair for the dramatic, Lorenzo," he said, voice smooth as silk and twice as sharp. "You should have stayed dead." Enzo stepped forward, shoulders squared. "You should have never touched him." That's when his gaze shifted to me, and he smiled. "Humans who know what we are don't stay human long." He moved, too fast to see. One second he was across the room. The next, his hand was around my throat. The pressure was cold, almost gentle, but I could feel the strength behind it. Enzo lunged. They hit the counter, sent the espresso machine. Sparking, steam hissing through the air. The smell of burnt coffee filled the room. I grabbed the nearest thing, a broken chair leg, and swung. It connected with the hunter's shoulder. He snarled, spun on me, eyes flaring red. For a moment, I thought I was done. Then Enzo was there, tackling him back, fangs out, both of them crashing into a mirror. Glass shattered, blood hit tile. "Chase, get back!" I didn't. Instead, I grabbed the metal coffee pot from the counter, still hot, and threw it. It hit the hunter square in the face, a hiss of pain, steam rising. Enzo took the opening, drove a wooden stake into the hunter's chest, right where his heart should have been. He screamed, light bursting through the cracks in his skin. Then was gone. Silence. All I could hear was my own heartbeat and Enzo's uneven breathing. He was on his knees, blood on his hands, face pale but alive. "You're supposed to stay out of it," he rasped. I dropped to my knees beside him, shaking, adrenaline fading. "Yeah, well, you're supposed to stop dying on me." He laughed, hoarse, tired, but real. Outside, dawn was breaking. The next morning. The first rays of dawn broke through the clouds like fire. The hunter, or what was left of him, hit the sunlight and went up in a flash of white and ash. And just like that, it was over. I thought I'd feel relief. Instead, all I felt was panic. Because Enzo was on the floor, half slumped against the counter, eyes half open, skin pale in a way that wasn't just vampire pale. There was blood, dark, wrong-looking, running down his side. "Hey, hey!" I was kneeling beside him before I even realized it, pressing my hands over the wound, not sure if that even worked on vampires. You're okay, Enzo." He managed a weak laugh. "I've been better." The sunlight was creeping closer across the floor. He turned his face away from it instinctively. I grabbed the nearby curtain and pulled it shut, blocking the light. "Stay with me," I said. "Don't you dare pull the dramatic fainting vampire act right now." He tried to smile, but failed halfway. "I just need to rest." "You're bleeding out." "Not exactly bleeding," he muttered. "Just losing strength." Then his eyes flicked to my wrist, and I understood. I hesitated, heart pounding so loud it almost drowned the rain outside. He shook his head weakly. "No, Chase, I won't." "Enzo." I held out my wrist anyway. "Are you sure?" he whispered. I swallowed hard. My throat felt tight. "I already lost you once," I said quietly. "Drink." He stared at me for a long moment, something breaking and rebuilding in his gaze, before he leaned forward. When his fangs touched my skin, it wasn't pain. It was something else. Warmth, connection, the slow hum of something ancient and alive between us. His breath hitched, mine did too. The world narrowed to the sound of rain and the pulse beneath his lips. It wasn't about hunger. It wasn't even about blood. It was trust, pure, reckless trust, sealed in the quiet before sunrise. When he pulled back, he looked better, stronger. His eyes were back to hazel, soft again. He wiped the blood from his mouth. Guilt and gratitude tangled in his smile. "You taste like trouble," he murmured. I laughed, shaky, half delirious but real. "Guess I'm your favorite flavor then." He leaned his head against my shoulder, eyes fluttering shut. We stayed like that until the sun fully rose. Two disasters clinging to each other in the wreckage of a coffee shop, pretending the world hadn't just almost ended. With the hunter gone, the power inside Enzo settled. Still quiet, but steadier. He said it felt like a piece had clicked into place, like both sides of the magic finally belonged to him again. He told me vampires would still come sometimes, hoping to get to the bloodline. But with the hunter gone, the worst danger had passed. The family magic wasn't going anywhere, but neither was Enzo. A few months later, it took months to rebuild what the fight destroyed. The broken windows, the burn marks, the mirrors that still smelled faintly of smoke. The first few weeks, it felt wrong to even be here. Like the ghosts of that night were still lurking between the walls, whispering through the cracks in the floorboards. But slowly, piece by piece, we made it ours again. The new version of the cafe is warmer. The kind of place that wraps around you instead of swallowing you whole. Amber lights hum softly above. The air smells like cinnamon and caramel. and there's a playlist that never quite stops humming in the background. Enzo says it makes the nights feel shorter. The irony? We're busiest after dark. He says it's because of the vibe. I say it's because people sense something alive in the walls. Or half alive in his case. And maybe that's okay. I run the register now, pretending to care about tips and receipts while sneaking glances at Enzo behind the counter. He moves with quiet grace, sleeves rolled up, veins faintly glowing under the soft lights. The ghost of a smile playing on his lips as he steams milk that he'll never drink. Every now and then, his gaze catches mine. And for a heartbeat, the world stills. Like that night never ended. It just softened into this. A couple at the corner table laughs. The bell over the door rings. The world spins on. Then someone at the counter, a regular, bright-eyed, and nosy, asks with a grin, "So, how long have you two been together?" Enzo doesn't even pause. "Technically," he says, flashing that smirk that still ruins me. "Since before I died." I choke on a laugh. We talked about easing strangers into the vampire thing. What? It's true. I roll my eyes, but he's already sliding a mug toward me. Caramel latte, extra sweet. He still remembers exactly how I like it. Always did. Our fingers brush when I take it, and something inside me steadies. He smiles. Soft, real. The kind of smile that makes every impossible thing worth surviving. "And you?" he murmurs. "Still not over it?" I take a sip, meet his gaze over the rising steam. Not even close. Outside, the neon sign flickers against the glass. Eclipse Cafe. Open all night. It casts a glow that spills across the floor, across him, across us. Warm gold meeting quiet red. Two different worlds sharing one light. We stand there a moment longer, cups raised, the hum of jazz and conversation around us. And for the first time in a long, long while, the night doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like the start of forever. The end. If the person you loved came back from the dead, changed, dangerous, but still them, would you let them back into your life? Or would you finally learn to let the past stay buried? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force. And consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.